Rodgers has said on several occasions that he wanted 5 or even 6 new faces to strengthen and refresh his squad for another challenge of European football. But ultimately, they're paying the price for the fact that they have got quite a bloated squad with players that haven't worked out on big wages.
Yeah, they made some poor signings last summer, 2 of them from my patch down on the south coast. I know Southampton were confused that they were all in for Ryan Bertrand and willing to give him the long-term contract that Southampton weren't. I know they were surprised that Leicester were willing to pay significant money for Yannick Vestergaard.
15 million quid.
Yeah, neither of those signings have worked out particularly well. And when you're a club like Leicester, and I know they're recent Premier League champions, but they aren't the richest club in the world. So when they spend £15 million on a player who doesn't work out, it hits them hard. And I think also, if you look at their business model over the past few seasons, it's been based on them selling one big superstar pretty much every summer. They sold Harry Maguire. Obviously, they sold Chilwell. They sold Conte. They sold Mahrez after winning the league. And I think this summer they were preparing to sell Yuri Tillemans, who's in the last year of his contract. That might still happen because I think the interest from Arsenal and to a lesser extent Manchester United is still there. But until they can start to generate some income, I think it will continue to be a slow window. And I don't think they'll go down next season, Leicester, because they still have incredible quality. But I think if you're talking about them as European challengers, as we have going into the last couple of seasons, I think that probably looks unlikely at this stage.
Not just European challengers, but for 2 years in a row, they were chasing Champions League football again. Now their fans think they'll do well to get in the top 8. Have they missed an opportunity to capitalise on that? And they won the FA Cup not so long ago, remember? Have they built on that success?
I don't think so, but I think you look at the model and you look at the training facilities and the improvements that they've made there. Sometimes for a club like Leicester City to be able to invest in a training ground to try and attract players in the future and also go into the transfer market and bring in good players, I think that's very tricky and very difficult to do on their budget. But what I would say is it's a concern because you look at the squad and you look at the players that are coming out of contracts in 2023 and it's alarming. I mean, you're talking Tielemans. So Tielemans could, I mean, all the cards now with Tielemans because he can leave when he wants, but if the club want to get rid of him, but the club will have to abide by his rules because he's got a year to go. So he can say, "No, I'm going to stay. I'll wait till the end of the season, walk for free." So he's in the driving seat. You look at Jamie Vardy, his age. Castor Schmeichel's out of contract. I know he's 35, but he could easily go on for 3, 4, 5 more years. Johnny Evans.
He's spoken about one more challenge as well after Leicester.
So that
City,
could be a free move for Casper if they don't do something about that. Johnny Evans is on his last year of his contract. He's 34, but that was the biggest problem for me last season. It wasn't so much scoring goals or creating chances; it was keeping clean sheets,
particularly from set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, we was at the game at Forest, and Leicester were awful from set pieces. And you've got a player with James Garner's quality.
That's still continued into pre-season this year as well.
It's incredible. So I think. You look at the squad, Fofana's back fit, that'll be a huge boost. If they can keep Evans fit and manage the workload of these two players, any of the other centre-halves with them too, I think works. As soon as you bring them two players out of the equation, I think Leicester City are wide open at the back.
Does it throw into doubt the future of Brendan Rodgers, who was under a little bit of pressure towards the end of last season? And Brendan, I think, has done a terrific job there. And I thought at the time it was outrageous to suggest that he may well be relieved of his duties. But that, at one stage, was a big rumour that was circulating around football. The fact that he hasn't been given the resource that he has asked for, i.e., he's mentioned on a couple of occasions that he wants 5 or 6 new players and he's got none so far. Does it throw into doubt whether or not he's got the full support of the Leicester board?
Yeah, I think it does in some ways. And I think he must be contemplating privately, have I taken this team as far as I can? Because obviously 2 seasons ago they missed out on a place in the Champions League on the last day of the season, despite having been in the top 4 pretty much for the whole campaign. He's won the FA Cup, which was a big landmark moment for Leicester. They'd never won that trophy before, been beaten in a couple of finals. But without backing financially, and Trevor just mentioned there, some of the players that are coming to the end of their contracts and coming to the end of their careers, in fairness as well. You know, Jamie Vardy and Kasper Schmeichel aren't getting any younger. Realistically, how, without a pot of cash to spend in the market, can Brendan Rodgers kick this team on?
Exactly, so why is he under pressure then? Because for me, you look at him, any coach, it doesn't matter what coach you've got, if they've not got good players, there's a ceiling to what they can do with that group of players. Now, if you start giving someone like Brendan Rodgers money to spend and he brings in good players, then you can start seeing him weave his magic and showcasing what he can do as a coach.
I don't think
but
the
with average
accusation,
players,
Trevor, is they haven't got good players. They've got good players, but there's a lot of other players that are coming towards the end of their career. So the depth of the squad certainly isn't there. I mean, James Justin, good player according to the England squad. Fofana, Castagne's done well. He's played for Belgium. They've got young Harvey Barnes, who's done a brilliant job. James Maddison is often talked about as someone who might end up going off and playing for a Champions League club. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, I thought, played really well last season, had a bit of a breakout season.
He just signed a new deal, hasn't he?
The issue is going forward, where they bought in Patson Daka, didn't really do what they expected from him, but that might just be a first season.
Correct.
Jamie Vardy's coming to the end of his career. Evans is coming to the end of his career. Pereira continually gets injured. Albrighton's coming to the end of his career. And beyond that, you're looking at younger players and hoping that they will break into the first team squad and actually make an impact. That's why they have to buy, right?
That's the job of a manager. That's the job of a director of football. That's the job to do due diligence, make sure you know when the players are coming out of contract, what ages they are, and where you need to do the business to keep the momentum going for Leicester City. Unfortunately, listen, there's 50 days, whatever there is to go in the transfer window, but you want to start the season well. You want to get these players in early so you can do pre-season, so you can bond with your teammates. This hasn't happened. Maybe they've got a lot of things in the pipeline and they're going to do some business. But if I was planning, I'd rather do it right at the beginning of the summer. Get the players in, get them all to meet each other, and get them on that journey together to start the season. Yeah, really
Leicester have never been huge spenders in any transfer window.
You don't have to be. Mahrez,
they trade their way
Mahrez
through.
Was 400 grand. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You just need to find these players, and you can find them. But it's hard, and you need good scouts, and you need a good...
Some would say, actually, that's been the problem over the last few years. They haven't with the resources they've got, the best players. It was only 43 days to go before the transfer window, and you've often talked about the fact that one transfer can lead to many more going down that pipeline and people eventually coming in. So it's not panic stations yet for Leicester.
No, it isn't. But the season does start earlier this year because of the World Cup, and I think when you haven't got players in the building for pre-season, I think it will be more of a problem. I think you're going to see a few teams maybe who start the season a little bit undercooked. But as you say, plenty of time to go. You're talking about a domino effect. I think if somebody comes in with money for Tielemans, he'll be allowed to leave. And then, hopefully, for Brendan Rodgers, that will enable him to bring in a couple of replacements. But it's so tough for teams like Leicester because you say you don't need to spend big money. You look at teams around them. Nottingham Forest, who we've mentioned already. Fulham have spent big. Brentford have spent £40 million on a couple of signings. So if you're not willing to invest in the market, you could find yourself lagging behind even those teams new to the Premier League.
OK, this is talkSPORT. Sam Matterface, Alex Crook and Trevor Sinclair in the studio today. And we're talking about a variety of different subjects. So many football stories today, which is really good for us.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.